Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel on YouTube Spirit Teaches of Going with Itself. I'm not live on TikTok yet, however, I am recording it and I will be uploading it later. And I'm also live on my Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, and I really encourage people to read the description of my YouTube channel, Spirit Teaches of Going with Itself, to get a better understanding of what it is that I bring forward on my channel. Situated here for a minute, but I think I might have to switch over to share over what I'm talking about today because there's a few things I want to touch base with regards to family court, but I was talking about touch base on that because it's something that came up and we lay in the tub and start kind of started bringing it forward because it took me back to your what happened. I went over to the family court. You know, back years ago, like up to last year, 2013. And when I went into the family court, what, what a big change. It was like institutionalized. Okay. So what gets me and really baffles me is the way the family court was put there to help families and what have you, but they've institutionalized. I went in there, and once you walk through the door, you have to go through security. You literally have to go through security. Okay? Now, if people don't see something wrong with that, then you know, then I have to say that there's something wrong with the system because people will say, well, you know, family law can get pretty violent. Do you not understand why family law gets so violent? You know, the justice system does nothing to actually help the people. The only thing that they do anything to help is shut it up. Okay? I'm still waiting after a month almost now for a legal aid lawyer to get back to me and let me know whether I qualify for a legal aid certificate. You know, Spirit puts me in these positions, in these places, to find out how the system is working. See, when you go into a family court, I don't know if any of you have ever been to family court, okay? But I've been to family court where people have taken their children in. Well, like, how do I explain it? Because like people can be so wrapped up in the mentality of thinking, well, there's so much domestic violence. Don't you get why there's so much domestic violence? Because the system does not work to help the people. You go into family court, you file for you file in family court. What do you do? First off, you have to, well, you fill it, but they don't even help you there. They think that you got to go to a lawyer, and if you can't afford a lawyer, well, then I guess you're fucking shit at a lot if you don't understand the paperwork, right? cold. I'll tell you, they're cold. And then you get the paperwork, and oh well, if you didn't go through the parenting course, then you had to go through a parenting course. But you could have been parenting your kid for 10, 15 years, but they tell you have to go through a parenting course. The thing is, the family court should be offering family therapy, family counseling, not dividing families and having each other at each other's throat because you want the house, you want the car, and we're dragging each other through the fucking paper shredder, but we left each other at one. But instead of offering the services to help the transitioning of separation run smoothly, opposed to having to have security there, so you have to go through a metal detector, security, and everything like that because you're going into a family court. Something wants to try and shut me down, and I got like, I feel for the people who get wrapped up in this. I really do. Because when I got my divorce, and I went through the divorce in 2006, separation, everything like that. The first thing the lawyers tried to do was get me to go for half of everything we had. They weren't happy with just, we just wanted separation. They create conflict. They encourage their clients, especially the ones that are really hard done by and feel like they've been scorned. They will push and push and push and push, and they will fuck up people. How many families have gone in there and you had a bit of anxiety, but then these systems come into play, and it's like, holy shit, we now have to get security in there to check everybody before they can. And the other thing was when I went into the court, it was really strange because they told me like every door was locked, and you used to be able to go into whatever door you want. But they told me it's now family court. But you used to see on the news sometimes there would be people charged for murder or robbery. But see, when I went downstairs to get the paperwork, the woman there, she was very like not pleasant at all, very distant, and like you're bothering me. And when I asked about like with regards to help, to be honest, at those desks, when people are going in there and they don't know what to do with regards to the paperwork, the ones at those desks that are like giving the paperwork and stuff like that, it should be a paralegal or a legal assistant, somebody who knows how to fill out You know, these legal systems, they tear people apart. They make you out to be the demon, that you are the one that is the problem, but it's actually the system that's the problem. Because the system doesn't do what it should do. You know, if people go in for criminal, they throw you in a cell, and all you can hear in there is what almost sounds like a bunch of fucking chimpanzees going on. Because it's all echoed and, you know, aren't the lights on pretty much constantly? It's like you go into burn cows. So like, I would love for somebody to tell me, like, if you've been in prison, what type of what type of help did they offer you? Seriously, people say, well, they're in prison, they shouldn't have help. They're in prison because they don't have help. That's why they're in prison. And you know, prison is profitable because it's privately owned. People say, well, you can't be, you shouldn't have to pay for it. Okay, then maybe taxpayers should pay for your medical expenses. Because if you look at most people who've gone to prison, and you actually look at their upbringing and their family's upbringing, and with them, it becomes that vicious circle. Family court, 6 years I fought to get custody of my son back, and it was just a bunch of bullshit back and forth. I got lucky because I had a legal certificate, but you know, I know it cost my son's father a pretty penny. And you know, that's money that maybe they should be teaching the parents to like actually sit with one another and have a like actually have someone there, not set them in a fucking courtroom and keep paperwork going back and forth. Because then they're creating even more division when there's already complications there to begin with. But instead of, you know, trying working to take the complications down, you know, I can feel that. I can feel the ones that actually want to shut me down. Are you one of the ones fucking profiting off of these people and their pain and suffering? Because if you are, you disgust me. And if you don't disgust everybody else, then I have to like question their judgment. I know that, you know, we have relationships that we end up just like shit happens. Am I talking out my ass? Yeah, she did hear you. Am I actually talking on my ass? Because, like I said, wait a minute. I was back in, I was in family court since, well, the first time I had to go to family court was 93 after my son was born. Because he was so critical in, you have to have a father do this and do that. And then you have the ones like you don't want to pay child support, but you don't mind like taking your pepper out of your pants or spreading your legs. And yes, when my son was with his father, I did pay child support when I had the money to do it. They garnished they garnished my wages. Courts are just designed to be profitable because there's no true justice. Because if you causing more pain for people justice, because those ones that commit the crime, you put them in there, and then the majority of them they go back out because it's the same offenders, right? Or you have people going in the same circle. Most families like when they go through divorce, each side would probably have enough money for each of the offenders. So why are you not seeing? Why are you not demanding more? You're paying enough money, aren't you? See, when I went to family court, it wasn't until 2 years later that the cat came out of the bag and I found that my son's father's lawyer was the husband to my son's teacher, which that was a conflict of interest. And see, when I brought it to the attention of my lawyer, my legal aid lawyer, and I told her, oh, well, it's over now. What? That in itself was grounds for an appeal. And I would say also, not just an appeal, but, you know, an investigation. And wait a minute, what's that word for it? Um, it's right there. I'm trying to bring it forward. I got the word adultery, but it wasn't adultery. It was lying under oath perjury. The teacher, they had to get something from the teacher. But they figured, she's dumb. She will figure it out. And then when I did figure it out, well, my lawyer wouldn't go for an appeal. And by the time that I was able to find a lawyer, I couldn't go for an appeal because the time was up. So I had to start off with square one. And if you look within the family court system itself, do not choose your marital status, whether you have more children, your education, your spiritual beliefs, your medical health, mental health. But they used all that against me. And not only that, prior to that happening, going to court and losing custody of my son, I was going to my son's teacher and asking her if she was noticing anything with my son. No. But yet, when it came time to fucking go to court, she had a lot to say. Oh, he was coming to school like pants, unfed. Lady, I was out eating out of a fucking garbage can to make sure my son was fed. He wasn't the one eating out of the garbage can. I was, because I was taking what little food I did have and making sure I had enough for him. And on top of that, I had to get a, let me see, what is it called? Child protection lookup. And I had to get a police record. Because for almost the whole year, I was a volunteer in the Restore Center. Okay, so why would I have respect for a system that actually doesn't work for the people? It's who has the most money to afford. And because I was on assistance, that was held against me. Just because you've got a job and you have lots of money doesn't mean that it makes you a better fucking parent. But hey, they'll do that. Because seriously, how many times have you seen somebody of a lesser income lose custody of their child? How many cases have you actually seen where, the child's teacher's husband will be the lawyer in the case? And then the principal 2 years later became my son's principal again. And I was going to school then to find out because my son he was acting out. He was in the custody of school. He was acting out. And he had this one girl at school who stabbed him in the leg with a pencil. She got away with it because her mother was on the committee. And right in front of me, the principal, they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to bring her in. She's going to be suspended. Like we're going to bring her in for detention and stuff like that." Well, I was sitting right there as they were as they were telling me what they were planning to do with her. They were supposed to stay. Spirit guided me to look out the window. And I seen the girl, the same age, knew better. I seen the girl walk right past the window, thought you were keeping her for detention, but she just walked by there. Oh, oh, just give me a minute. Oh, she had to go home. Wait a minute. You called me because my son stole the Yu-Gi-Oh cards from a kid. And he was getting detention, and I think he was even going to have to like stay home. But I went and I said, like, I told my son, tell the truth. I told him, I'm going to say that I believe her, but I know, like, if you did it, it's always better to tell the truth. And when I got home, there was a phone call from the vice principal saying that my son went back to this child and gave him back the Yu-Gi-Oh card. So he got in more trouble of over a Yu-Gi-Oh card than the girl did who stabbed him in the leg with a pencil. See, when I brought bringing this forward in the court, it wasn't allowed. I had a big fucking jury. Well, they wanted nothing to do with that. The woman doing the assessment, she advised me that, it would be much better for you if you moved closer where your son now resided. So I took the advice of someone who did a psychologist who did the assessments. I took her advice. And wait a minute, they used that against me because they said he had another group. I could have, like, I could have said how many times he's bothered me. But hey, like, I'm not that petty. And when I, like, the times that I do, I moved, like, from one building over across to the other building. I went from the ground up on the top floor and then moved to the ground, just across the way. But they classed that as a bunch of groups, and then advised me to move closer, and I did. And I used against it. How many of you have had that experience? But people will still say, "Oh, it works. The system works. The system works." But for you, right? As long as the system is working for you, see, the court system will use your children as leverage. Just so you know. It's in the court. Someone told me about a judge in the States who just recently died or something like that. He was a judge that would actually hear the person's upbringing to get to the bottom of what happened along the way, why this person is the way, why are they continuously committing crimes. That's part of the because, I should be saying the court system itself. I work with family as a legal assistant. There's a lot of child protection cases. There was this one woman that called up. She told me a bit of what was going on. It was a child protection case. She had legal aid certificate. So I got off the phone with her. I took her in. I went out to the lawyer that I was with, and I informed her. I give her a little bit of information. And she just kind of looked off. Well, it's $60 an hour for 7 hours, and I don't really have to do anything. Yeah. So right there, it had no concern for the child. Just the fucking problem. And when she said that, it was just like I couldn't like I was just trying to comprehend what just fucking happened, and I just kind of and I looked at the other assistant, and I just looked and I shook my I walked in my room without any words, and I closed my mouth. And that day, I lost respect. So after I had my car accident, I really didn't give two shits if I when I left, because she ended up very vindictive with regards to it. There's one lawyer that I God rest his soul. Even after my legal aid certificate and I had no money, he still remained. I got married. My lawyer told me that right now, the only way that I'm going to get my son back was if I got married. So that sets families up for failure because I may have loved the person that I married, but I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to get married that way. And that was what that was a big thing that kept me from getting my son back was I wasn't married. I was fucking 25. Court system must have got some fucking lessons from hey dickwad. You're just fucking coming out of puberty, then you fucking probably marry a 14-year-old if you fucking could. Could you say, oh well they should be mature? you know, women, people are still going to school then, but they're supposed to be married, right? So after he said that, I went to my ex-husband was my boyfriend at the time, and I told him, and he married me. Deep down, neither one of us wanted that. It's the system that sets you up for failure. It's the system that tears you and your family apart. They don't work to resolve. They work to escalate it because if they can escalate it, then it's a problem. But unless you've had to go through the court system, you have no fucking idea. My ex-husband, his first wife went through the same thing. And one would blame it over the other. But hey, the part of the teacher, the lawyer, the teacher's husband, yeah, I blame it on the mom because you all knew what you did was dirty. I know, but it suffered for her. And it tore another family apart. This was all about vengeance. You gotta have that struggle. You gotta have the stronger. The system is making them all forget itself. Because you're not there to help the people. And what the people really need to do is they need to take all the fucking money back out of your hands. But people will say, look, we need it. We need the justice system there. We need it there. Do you really? What? Because it's working in your favor? But it really does nothing for the victim because everyone becomes a victim of the system, whether you want to believe that or not. I've seen so many people go through custody, and it's been a fucking shit show and a bloodbath. But with regards to money and the kids that hurt, I don't give a fuck about the adults really, because we're supposed to be the responsible ones, but we expect our kids to pick sides. Hey, people say, oh, well, like, that's just the way it is. It's only the fucking way it is because you don't do fuck all to change it. Because you live in that mentality. Oh, it is what it is. It is what it is. There ain't nothing you can do. If you ain't gonna do anything about it, then get the fuck out of the way and keep your goddamn fucking mouth shut for the people who do want to do something about it. Because you're just getting in the way. Go live in your little fucking bubble and say, oh, well, my life is good. I don't. Well, even though I don't want to know other people's business, I don't care about other people's business. I just care about children. I do care about people who are getting fucked over by a system that you think, oh, well, it is what it is. Maybe your life is what it is because you don't want to do anything to change it. But like I said, it's okay if it's not happening to you or your family, right? And it doesn't matter if it's in family law or criminal law, because neither systems help the people. But see, you don't see it with the criminal system. You don't see it that way. You just say, well, they're always like this. But you won't look because you're wounded by what happened to you or your family. And that's where the humanity, like, it's okay, you want justice, but why don't you seek the, the part where, hey, you say, hey, justice system, fucking help these people so they're not out there killing somebody else's family member or stealing from someone else or fucking running someone over. Will you do that? No, hell no, because it's all about justice. Kill, kill, kill. Lock them up. They're bane on existence. No, the system is bane on existence, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing within the system because they ain't doing anything to fucking work to correct it. So everybody's gonna suffer. It's a pathetic system, and I do say it's a pathetic system. And in all honesty, I don't care if you're part of it. If you can't see the true injustice that the system brings to everyone, the victimizers and the victims, because the victimizers were a victim to begin with, and they thought it was good. They lived it. It must have been normal. But you say, oh, you pick side of the bad guys. No, I'm not picking either fucking side. I'm saying that the reason why you have one side or the other is because the systems that you put in that you have in place are not built to help you. They help you right now, but maybe you're the ones that are just, how do people expect anything to change if no one wants to be the change? should murderers go to jail? But hey, at that you should look at both sides of everything. Dig deep into both sides. Because the ones involved are not going to be the ones to tell the truth. Because everyone's always ones that are picking sides instead of saying what really happened. Like you said about the ongoing, which is ironic because in my family I'm related to Melvin and the Marys. Because my seventh great Grammy, after my seventh great granddad was killed, my seventh great grandmother, and my cousin, one of their children, married a Melvin. But oh, better not say that. Here to tell you, hey, if my seventh great Grammy is your seventh great Grammy, then guess what? You're related to the Marriott and Melvin. So I guess you're married to you're related to the corruption. Hey, that's why I tell everybody else. Go do your genealogy. What are you afraid of? Might find out that you're an ancestor of dirt, as you would call it. But see, you won't look back on the history of it all, right? You won't look back at the fucking pattern, right? You won't look back at the true problem. And it's a system that never worked to begin with, and they're even putting it in your fucking face. You go to courtroom, and it has a picture of the fucking queen on the wall. Has a picture of the queen on the wall, and they get you to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, all the God. We should get them to, before we start court, is get them all to swear an oath on the Bible and say, I swear to be unbiased and unbiased all the way. But they're not. Not one of them. Oh, no, because they're always picking one over the other because maybe you have a woman judge and she's got a beef with the feud because I did have a woman judge that was exactly like that. And she dismissed the case and it was already dismissed, but the person showed up late and she reopened. You can't do that. Legally speaking, you cannot do it because you dismissed the case. It would have to start all over again, right? So I did take her to appeal court. And I did that appeal by myself. And then I found out that she no longer worked at that family court anymore. She went from the cabinet, the capital of Nova Scotia Supreme Court to a little town court. And she should have actually been stripped of her ability to be a judge because she proved herself not to be a worthy. And that was the family court. You know, hey, the court that had all the documents. You know, they didn't mind putting up a narrative of mental health to the public, right? You know, they even had in my medical records that at the age of 14, I cut my wrists. They had it in there. It's like, where'd you get that from? So let's put it to you this way. When I was in the K unit at 17, there was a young girl in there. Her name was Terry. She was like a different part to it. And while we were in there, she was 14. She went and she took a butter knife and she gouged her wrists all up while we were in there. She was all bandaged up. But that got put in under my name. But at 14, I was in grade 7. After halfway through the school year, I got pregnant, and I never had it until I was 15. But it wasn't. But they had that in my record. And then when I confronted my, when I found it, when I confronted my, it went into family law. When I confronted my doctor about it, oh, well, there's nothing we can do with that. Dude, you fucking plagued me for life. You plagued me. And it was held against me in court. But hey, where's my recourse, right? Where's the recourse for people like myself who got fucked over by not just one, not just two, not just three, not just four, but all fucking 7 systems? You know, those are the fucking 7 seals. You gotta expose them. But you didn't get that memo, did you? 7 deadly sins. Your systems are what are the deadly sins. And that's what you live under. You're not the you may commit offenses, but you're not the sin. And you're not the sinner. You just happen to live under the sin that is the sinner because they force sins on you. They force their systems integrated into society onto you. And then they judge you for it. But hey, I know that's part of the reason why, people would freaking attack at my TikTok to get me kicked off. because you are part of the sin. And you expect everybody else to remain there because you live. And then to step out and start speaking up about it, you tell us that we're conspiracy theorists. I think I'd rather be called a conspiracy theorist than live in fucking denial and have somebody continue to tell me that I'm a sinner. Well, if you look at your systems, you see exactly who the sinners are. Because who's getting hurt? Because I'm sure the fucking ain't the systems. Because everybody's saying, oh, it is what it is. Like, it works for me. Well, you're one of the very few. And maybe you didn't have to put up with any part of it, so you figure, oh, well, it's okay. You drink your shame say over and over again because I've seen people put on their Facebooks and stuff like that. People that really big on the existence of it's taking on the money and everything like that. With all the respect you're giving your premier fucking for $125,000 a year, and he's a fucking millionaire. It's full common sense. But I guess you want to careful the area there because you think he speaks it when we can't even fucking figure that out. Not being rude, just like, I'm questioning your intelligence on that one, yeah. But you think it's okay. How fucking warped are you? Seriously. And then you'll come after people like myself for us to shut them up because it makes life a little uncomfortable for you. But hey, have you like a lot of people, they'll they don't have the money to fight for their child. Some will walk away, and I like in as far as I understand that, but in other ways, I don't understand it because the court system teaches you that if you don't have the money to give them, then you lose your children, or you have to walk away from them, or you have to fork out hundreds or fork out thousands of dollars because just to get into a courtroom, you're looking at over $1,000. That's just to step foot in it. And for them to say, "Oh, well, we'll adjourn it, or we'll set it for a later date." Schizophrenic. The only ones that the systems work for are the actual corrupt ones, and they're the ones that built it. Like visitation to see your own kids. That is sickening. Did you not know that? So because you can't get along with one another, you torture the kid and refuse the kid access to even access to both parents. And you say the system works for what? Ignorance? Because it sure the fuck don't work for the people unless you're the one benefiting from it, right? And then that's ignorance. And that tells me that do you really care? Or do you just want to have the upper hand and be in control of it all? Because access to your children should, if you can't live together, it should be even access to each, not just one on the weekends. But people won't see it that way, will you? Because your ego's what gets bruised. Because your ego is what gets bruised, right? Then parents are going into family court with regards to other parents taking charge and saying, hey, I want to transition my child. My child is 13 and they want to transition into another sexual orientation. If one parent objects, then it shouldn't take place. And your teachers and doctors have no fucking say about it. You can't say, well, it affects the mental health of the child. No, what affects the mental health of the child is actually what's going on. It's not like you tell me that a 5-year-old wants to say that they're a boy when they're a girl. That to me is upbringing that one parent wanted a different sex for a child and didn't get it. So you treat the child one way or another. Because I'll tell you, in the end, what happens is it becomes the parents' insecurity. And I am blaming the parents for this. Parents want to know what child, what are they having, a boy or a girl, and then you get disappointed because you're not having the one that you wanted. Instead of it being a surprise. Oh well, we need to know what we're having so we can have everything ready. Shit, buy something that's neutral. They don't take different diapers. They don't take a different crib. The only thing they might do is wear different friggin' a pink or a blue. But hey, boys are wearing pink. I know a guy, and he had to walk. He ended up walking away from his own daughter, and the mother works at the hospital. And I think might be in the blood clinic. And the courts would not listen to the father when the father said he did not want the transition to happen. But he was the one paying all the child support, not seeing the child. I don't know what the relationship was like between the mother and father, because I mean, I know the father, and I know that shit, man. No offense to him, but you fucking irritated me because I can see that you're a control freak sometimes. But hey, when it comes to the child, his say should have been heard and it should not have been going through because there was an objection. In Nova Scotia, there's a big thing about this. Anybody who has an ulterior motive should not be in charge of anything. If it doesn't benefit the people and it only benefits your agenda or your side, you should not be in a position of authority or power. And you see it a lot in the court systems. You see it a lot in positions of power, your educational system, your medical system. They have ulterior motives. People think, oh well, they're doing all these fundraisers and raffles to bring to raise money to buy hospital equipment. Please tell me again why your medical system is privatized. Aren't you already paying for that medical equipment with your tax dollars? But they're saying, hey, give us your money. Like, hey, come on. You pay $250. We'll put you in a chance to win a house, $1 million home that, most people that are purchasing these tickets are more or less fucking poor in hopes that they're going to win a fancy house. And they have maybe 1 in 100 million chances of winning the house because there's only what, 2 houses up for grabs? But you say it's going for equipment. Let's see. Let's see. I guess you're going to see. No shit, it'll only go up to 1 million. So let's multiply that by 250. The calculator don't even go fucking high enough to figure out. Okay, 100 million, because there's more than 100 million of these tickets sold at $250 a piece. So let's see. That's $25 billion. Do it yourself. Seriously, do the fucking math. 100 million tickets, raffle tickets sold at $250 a piece. That's $25 billion. And that's for the QE2 hospital. So where's that $25 billion going? Shit. And they do that every year. Let's see. The QE2 home lottery has been going on since it began, with the lottery happening twice a year in the spring and the fall. The lottery has raised over $110 million to improve health care for Atlantic Canadians. Really? Well, not according to the math. Shut me off there. They're fucking around. Well, now they didn't just start doing it in 2025, and that's what they're trying. When you do that, oh shit, they were freaking doing that in '94. How do I know? How do I know they were doing it in '94? Because where I was living in '94, '95, the guy that I was renting from, him and his wife, bought some of the lottery tickets and they won a car. It was the QE2. So let's see. Okay, so say 30 years ago, because they were selling the same amount. So you're saying that they're trying to tell us that they only brought in $110 million. Yeah, no, and they do that twice a year. So we'll times that by 30 years, and then we'll times it by 2 because they do it twice a year. Oh shit, man. 1.5 trillion dollars. Seriously. $1.5 trillion. Right there. Oops. Won't show it in the light. There, you can see it there now. But hey, that's the unethical part. And it's like that didn't go in. So that's not helping the people. So how much money is going from your tax dollars into this, and then you think that what they're doing is right, and they say, oh well, we're raising this money to buy one machine. Where's the rest of the money going? Because I'll tell you right now, they short the place that they say is worth $1.5 million or what have you. It sure the fuck didn't cost them that much to build it. And you should be asking yourself, all this money that goes into these systems, where is it going? But you'll say, oh, it's going into the system. No, it's not. No, it's actually not. It's going into their fucking pocketbooks because it's all privatized. Your justice system's privatized. Your medical system's privatized. Your educational system, you say it's government funded, but it's actually privatized. You just say, well, that's only private schools. Is it really? That's what they're trying to teach you, that it is. Seriously. But you look at me like I'm a fucking problem child and I have a fucking 100 heads because, I don't live in a fucking Denialville. Or, you just don't care because it don't affect you. And then you'll say that these people are bums and welfare and everything like that. Hey, to the ones that like to go on Facebook or platforms and talk about welfare, that we're welfare bums. Hey, remember, I know you and you were a fucking welfare bum. But you'll say, no, I wasn't. You're fucking right, you were. But will you say it about yourself? No. Will you go on social media and say, hey, I want to come on and I want to apologize for saying something about people who are on welfare because, I had to use welfare myself before, for quite some time. But hey, I've used welfare quite a bit. But you'll blame someone like myself for being the bane on the the system. The welfare bums are taking all the money. The welfare bums are taking all the money, and most of the welfare bums might get $10,000 a year. But we're taking all the money. What the fuck is your malfunction? Not being rude, but you are being ignorant. And then you have ones like myself who don't want to be on welfare. We do is what we're shown to do, but the system still fails us because they want to keep us welfare bums. Because if they keep us welfare bums, then they have people like yourself coming and attacking us, so that we don't see our true potential. Because they know that we're fucking greater than they are, so they got to keep you sick, addicted, and fucking other people picking on you like a fucking bunch of children in a fucking playground, bullying each other. Happens in your justice system, your medical system, your educational system. You, like shit, man. There's 7 of them. They even bully you in your religion. Hey, 7 deadly sins, 7 seals. Are you ready to break those seals yet? It's just seven chakras as you refer some, but it's the levels. You have to meet that. You have to face that demon head on. The demon is the system. The demon is the system, but it demonizes you for standing up to it. But hey, you won't like me, but you'll scream when you have an injustice, right? Or maybe you're the ones doing the injustice and you're hiding behind the system. But I'm the problem. Yeah, not. You know, by speaking up to by speaking up to it, maybe that's why they're not helping me. Well, wait a minute. I started speaking up about it because you weren't fucking helping me. Because all you did was fucking hurt us. And you'll send your bullies after us. Because those are the bullies are the ones that are afraid that they're going to lose their money. Oh, we're going to no. Why don't you just shut up? Shut up. You're making it worse for everybody else. Hey, instead of telling everybody else to shut up, why don't you stand up with the people and stand up for the people? Because it's okay as long as they're losing stuff, right? And it doesn't affect you. The systems are what destroys family. And no, it's not people like me, it's people like you. Because you're led to believe that it's people like me because, it's not that we're crybabies. It's that we actually face the darkness. We actually see a truth. And if you're throwing shit and shade on people like myself, you must be part of that truth. You must be part of the corruption. See, there's light and there's dark, and then there's the in between that sees both, and then there's the ones that are just plain out and out dark and ignorant. And those are the ones that don't give a shit about how something works for someone else as long as it works for them. You can't have it where something works for everyone, right? There's always be someone lower on the totem pole because those are the ones that you want to step on as you try to climb to the top to save yourself. And those ones that do that, they'll scream and say, "Oh, Christ is coming, Jesus is coming." No, you're the ones Jesus was talking about. I had somebody say today about a certain religious group of how they believe and they want to exterminate everyone and kill everyone off. Is that part of, looking back and figuring out who actually started this? The one who started it was the one who felt like they wanted to control everything and everyone, and they would hurt anyone who did not conform to what they wanted. You all say the Father, the Holy Father. Well, the Father was not fucking holy at all. The Father actually wanted to kill a child because it was of the light and the dark. You know, the ones living on the streets and saying that they're here to make a difference. They're here to do this. They're here to do that. How exactly, can you please explain to me how exactly you living on the streets, addicted and homeless, is doing anything about anything? You're right where they want you to be. So please tell me, how the fuck does that make sense? You're damn right it doesn't make sense. That's why they will condemn you and they will but see that's where, people will scream for change and say they want like all these homeless people and free homeless. Are you fucking helping them? Are you helping those homeless people on the streets that you are saying are homeless? Do you know that most of those people probably weren't fucking homeless to begin with? Penny at a prostitute, right? Because that's what people were doing. And some of those people that were throwing pennies at prostitutes had a prostitute as a friend. I lived next door when I had my youngest son was just like born. I lived next door to a woman who had a baby that was about 9 months, a year old. And her way of paying her rent was she was a stripper, but she had an abusive husband or boyfriend who would fucking beat her senseless and the baby would be screaming. So please, would you rather have somebody living off assistance, making sure their child was safe, or would you rather them be prostituting themselves out or fucking taking their clothes off so you can get pleasure? I got in that rut before where, I even asked somebody, who do I go talk to about doing it? But that person had enough respect for me and told me no. That person actually encouraged me to be all that I could be. It's not the people on the streets that's the asshole. It's the people who call them bums and say that they're the bane on the existence of humanity. They're not the bane. You are. You're the fucking ignorance. If they're stealing or survive. I saw one woman, like she was fucking tweaking. And she was going up to these cars. I don't know what was going on, but I was trying to talk to her. And when she seen my ex-husband, she started backing away. Whether it was because she thought that I had something in mind, I didn't. She had a fucking stroller. Where's her help? All right, you call her a fucking crackhead bum and the bane on your existence, right? You make me sick. You literally make me sick. There's so many people out there crying for help, and people like you are the ones that keep them there. They're not the heartless ones. They're trying to survive. Some of them, they don't want to be a part of the system. And people say, well, they're just like that. Why don't you ask their story of how they got like that? But wait, you won't take the time to do that, right? Because they're just welfare bums, coke addicts, and crackheads, and meth heads. And should people be going in there and just removing them from the streets and putting them into detox centers, giving them some self-worth, showing them some love? But oh wait, the money, the ones that, yeah, money. You'll say that, oh, well, that's against her. That like you can't do that. I will be honest with Donald Trump doing that, putting them in a prison. No, because they're treating them like they're no better. You're treating them like they're a criminal. All these like these resorts and everything like that. You're putting your money all into these pockets because fancy, fancy. Have any of you ever had to detox? Have you ever had that part where you wanted to get off the stuff, but you had no safe space to go? Because I'll tell you right now, the detoxes that they have in the hospitals, that's not safe. That's not safe space. It's far from safe space. You can't even fucking go outside. And oh, wait a minute, you have the actual drug traffickers going in there to find out what people are bringing in. Because I know someone who's actually a doctor was prescribing hydromorphone or allowed it to my ex-husband. And when my ex-husband went to her and said that he wanted off of it because of what it was doing, she told him, no, I'm good with where you are now. How is that your fucking say, bitch? Because you had the drug problem, not him. He went in and he ended up leaving, calling me middle of the night, come get me now. Because they took all of his pills and had him out on the counter where other people in there could see, and a truck driver who was a trafficker went to my ex-husband and said, what the fuck, man? What are you doing? There's like $10,000 worth of shit there. So he got out for his safety. But hey, I feel that in my guts. He was never the same since then. Mentally, nor physically. And who wears it? Family. So hey, instead of calling these people welfare bombs and crackheads and meth heads, yeah, they do steal because they're trying to get an next fix so that they don't have to deal with whatever it is that they're trying to run from, right? But you won't get that way. Oh, right, you don't care. See, I may not want to hear someone else's gossip. I don't have to hear people's stuff to feel it or see it. But I see people who they say they want the help. Sometimes they don't know where to go. And some people say they want the help just because it gets them a bit of sympathy. So they don't have to do the work. You know, everyone has free will. But sometimes there just has to be some intervention. You can't go and make and say, oh, we're going to give everybody the drugs so that they're at least we know it's clean. No, how about instead of giving them the drugs, the money that you're putting in to giving them those fucking drugs to keep them coming back for more because it pumps your ego. Oh, well, we're doing good. No, you're not. You're not doing good at all by giving them more drugs. You're fucking hurting them even more. But you won't get that, will ya? Feed their habit instead of helping them heal from it. Because sometimes you have to do that intervention and then they will thank you for it later. But no, you got to be praised at that moment. Oh, let's go get our next fix. Our government's paying for our next fix, but then they're screaming about our health care. People were saying about what's his face, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or what have you, about this farm thing. Did any of you actually take the time to fucking look into seeing what it was? Because it's actually taking these people out to a farm where they can learn some self-respect and get away from the drugs. I do think that he would know something about that because he was a drug head himself. And the reason why his voice is the way it is because he had a brain worm. But you didn't fucking take the time to figure that out, did ya? Maybe there are shit that he does. But hey, tomorrow we're going to talk about the embryos because I found something to do with embryos and dead fetuses, aborted babies, of what they use within the vaccines. But oh, you'll say that's not real. That's not true. How dare you say that about the vaccines? They helping us all. Are they? But hey, you'll fucking try censoring me on that, right? National Library of Medicine. Use of aborted fetal tissue in vaccines and medical research obscures the value of all human life. Oh, put it down there. But hey, and I found that because today my ex-husband, I was sitting here and he asked me what I was doing, and I said I'm making eggs. And he looked at me and said, "You're making eggs? Well, I don't see any feathers on you." So I stood up and I was, yeah, I'm making eggs right in here. So, I had two miscarriages. And I'm sure the fuck I didn't give you permission to take those fetuses. But you did, didn't you? We're not giving you permission to do that. But what you'll say because, oh, well, we own it now. No, that came out of our body. But people say, well, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's conspiracy theory. Is it? Even if somebody showed you that it's not fucking conspiracy theory, that it's right out there in plain sight in your fucking face. And then you wonder why there's so many fucking miscarriages. They got to do their experiments, right? So, hey, throw shit on me and shade on me because, with regards to the vaccines, hey, it's your choice whether you get one or not. But in a big way, I do agree with Robert Kennedy Jr. In ways, and you can hate me for that. I don't care because I'll tell you right now, if they're putting stuff in one vaccine, then they're doing the same to them all. I had my ex-husband say about somebody that, like, close to him, that it was a virologist. Do you not realize that everybody's fucking body reacts differently to viruses, and a virus is forever changing, so you can never keep up with it? But hey, you didn't go to university to learn that. They just tell you you have to go to university to learn that, but hey, it's forever moving. And everybody's body and immune system runs differently. Everybody's body reacts to things differently. So if you have the same vaccine for everyone, you're expecting everyone's immune system to be like that, or you're trying to turn everyone that way. Hey, that was going on within the justice system. That was a big fucking fight that people were having. You could be looking at a fucking virus, and in a split second, it's totally different than what you looked at it like that millisecond ago. So for you to know how it's going to react to anything, I guess your brain better be moving as fast as that virus is because you ain't gonna fucking keep up. Are things viruses, or is it just stuff they're putting in the fucking air? Seriously. Like you put Agent Orange, and then they think that, oh well, that's good for everything. Are you fucked in the head? What, you learned that in agriculture school? I actually had a man tell me basically that Agent Orange. Oh well, no, there's not none of that. It's a pesticide. You're fucking putting that pesticide, something that is killing bugs and animals. You're putting it on the crops, and then you're saying, "Oh, it's okay for people to fucking eat it, but it's killing the bugs and it's killing the animals around there." Boy, you better go back to school. Hey, some people say it's called ricin, but I say it's called ricin. because it wreaks havoc on your immune system. Rickon, go read about it. RICIN. Because it is actually has the same symptoms. Shit. Same symptoms as COVID. Seriously. But hey, you won't look at that, will you? And not only does it have the same symptoms as Rickon poison or as COVID, but if it's suspected that you've been exposed to Rickon poisoning, they tell you to do the exact same thing they tell you to do when you had COVID or felt like you may have been exposed to COVID. Train this confirmation. How about you go do your own research? Oh, wait, you won't take the time to do that because it's easier to fucking holler at people like us who actually do take the time and say, oh, well, that's conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's not conspiracy theory at all. Because it was written right on CDC. It's written right in even medical things with regards to it because they use it as warfare. They put it in they put it in a powder. It can be airborne. They put it in on your, it can go on your food, airborne. You goes on a lotion. They even can insert it. But hey, why do you think that people were having respiratory problems? Because Rickon creates respiratory problems. Hey, that's how George Washington died. They said it was just a fucking from him being on the goddamn fucking rain. What is he? I died. That was confirmation. Spirit takes me where spirit takes me. But hey, you'll say, you don't know nothing. You didn't go to university and learn this stuff. Why do you think there's so many that want to get rid of social media? Social media has its up points and, it can be used for bad. But it gives you access to be able to research and look into this stuff. It's free university. And you can understand it. See, you're taught a lot of different theories, which is a distraction, and it's a lot of middle in the middle. So it confuses you from the actual simpleness to it. University doesn't make you smarter. It may give you a little more of a theory and more put your head in, like, holy fuck, man. Go take your drugs so you can stay awake so that you can study more. Instead of just, doing hands-on and showing you, or, simplifying it, because you gotta make things so much more complicating in order for it to be intelligent, right? Yeah. Dari si kumoda da surwe si sa su kumo shakati sarati sarakoto porete kiamai kita rasa like shit. But you'll tell me I'm fucking retarded, and that's not what this said, and not what that said. Who's telling you it? Is it someone who has something to gain from it? Because even in mental health, they complicate things. They got to have these big names, because if you don't have the big names, you don't sound fucking intelligent, right? Well, I'll be honest, with your big names, you actually just sound egotistical, because only the people who speak your language knows what it is you're saying, because you make other people who you label with this stuff feeling less than what they are, when they're actually very fucking intelligent people, and your labels dumb them down to make them seem like they're stupid and got problems. With all due respect, you're the ones trying to figure your own fucking selves out, and you're using the people to do it. Hey, let me simplify everything. Mental health is actually caused from a lack of spiritual knowledge, spiritual growth, because it's your spirit. But hey, if it doesn't have a label. How dare you say spiritual? You're referring to the Bible, and we don't let that type of stuff in, because we don't want to know. We just want to say that it's all the brain. Well, it's the fucking brain, all right. It's called manipulation, and you guys are the ones trying to fucking do it to the people. I only look ridiculous to those who want you to think I'm fucking out to lunch. And this type of knowledge will put one fuck of a dent in their pocketbook. Because it costs nothing to connect to spirit. It costs nothing to look at yourself, to sit with yourself, to talk with spirit, to talk with yourself. All versions of yourself. Right down to that shadow ego. Because when the shadow keeps coming forward, it's because it needs to be seen. It's not its ego. It's like a child acting out because it's trying to release its pain. When I say that, the poison that I received, sending the poison back to the one who poisoned me, that's metaphorically speaking with regards to what we put one another through toxic words, toxic actions. And it's all led by a system. And the spirit works outside of that system. Hey. To therapists, if you really want to help your patients, then you'll start listening to people like myself who are telling you what is actually going on. Because it starts affecting the brain. Because you're telling them, suppress your emotions, suppress your pain, suppress your feelings. You're not a man if you don't. That's how men grow up. You're not a man if you don't. And then men will say, well, women don't let us, or no. It's how are we expressing it? Are we expressing it by beating the shit out of one another? Well, that's what it seems like right now. But see, you always take it out on the people who never did you wrong or caused harm to you. You take it out on those ones instead of, hey, going and confronting the one that actually did it. But that's too simplified, right? It doesn't make anybody a prophet. Hey, got a little bit of anxiety. Go have yourself some chamomile tea. Got a cold? Go have some honey, lemon, and hot water. But oh, right, they demonized that. People like that who say something like that, you have to back it up with, oh, well, if you get a cold, go see your doctor. Yeah, sorry, but I'm not saying that, what you perceive to be your modern medicine, which it's not modern, it's old. Because the real stuff is out there. They're just suppressing it from you because they can't make a profit from it. They can't say that, oh, well, we got to take this money and put it into this area here, like this part of the medical system. Well, you're not putting much in the medical system. The place you're putting it is into the friggin' into a fund to protect lawyers from medical malpractice. Or, sorry, to protect, into lawyers to protect this. Seriously, a doctor brought that to light here back in, I believe it was around about March of 2020. I think it was Dr. Robert Miller or something like that. That was in a Chronicle Herald article. He came out and said it. That's where the biggest majority of your medical money goes that the government gives. So it doesn't go back into you. It still goes back into their system. And then they'll tell you that, you're the problem with you're the problem with the medical system. Yeah, I don't think so. And anybody who fucking believes that, really, please shake your head. So I may not be working in your matrix, but I work for spirit and with spirit. We work alongside one another. I learn spirit, and spirit learns physical. So we combine the two to figure out what works for the people. But hey, just because you don't go to college or university or graduate from high school doesn't mean you're stupid. It's the system that leads you that tells you that because it wants your money. Because you have so much more to offer and so much more potential than what your system offers you. And once you figure that out, that's when you'll see things change. Or wait, it's already changing, you're just not seeing it yet because you still have those blinders on and you still are being distracted. Hey, get off my cards. Che se tu pure e noi, che ce la carai? A tree trunk the size of a man grows from a blade as thin as a hair. A tower 9 stories high is built from a small heap of earth. Your roots grow from the ground. You're a tree, and as the tree grows above the dirt, you become the tower. I guess I have a fly on the wall right now because it's right on my computer. So with that being said, I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings, most importantly, very good health to anyone and everyone wanting, willing to receive and accept. I want you all to be big, bold, brave. Most importantly, be yourself. Be your authentic self. Be who you are, not who somebody says you are. You have to be. Be true and kind to yourself. Be true and kind to others. And know that you have more strength than you can comprehend at times. And know that you are greater than the system.
And it's taking that step forward. Yeah. Be all you can be because you are greater. Saying about something ain't going to change it. It's every time you say about it and you let it go forward. You step with it. You say, I'm moving forward. All the poison that has ever come at me, that was someone else. So they're the ones that need to wear it. Señor love. Por eso recito por el creator y mucho por aquí.